Hi, this is Damien Marie AtHope, and I am an axiological atheist, which can simply be understood as a value theory or a value science atheist. Or, said another way, I am an axiologist, a theorist of axiology, and I approach atheism through that mindset. So, I'm also here on the phone with a guest. Could you go ahead and tell us your name and a little bit about you?
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Arael Avinu. I run the Facebook group Fully Deconverted. I myself was a former Christian. Within the past year, I deconverted. And let me see, on the side, I do commercial and activism filmmaking. That's me in a nutshell.
Right on. So, can you tell us a little bit about what you were before you became an atheist, and can you tell us a little bit about how that happened?
Yeah, so I was a Christian for 2 decades. I became a believer when I was a teenager, and I was involved in Christian ministries, all various types of Christian ministries growing up and as an adult, to include discipleship programs. I even went to university for theology and biblical studies that I just now stopped attending last December. So like 6 months ago, Damien, actually before you and I met, just a couple months before that, I stopped attending university. I was halfway through my senior year.
Wow.
And the reason why I deconverted, and people really get hung up on this reason, the reason why I deconverted was the claims of Christianity are not evidently true. And it's just that simple.
I think that's a great answer. What? Someone has a problem with that? That's a fabulous answer. What the hell? Who are you talking to?
Well, it's mostly religious persons, because, and I understand, because when I was a Christian and somebody were to have told me, the claims of Christianity aren't evidently true, I would have been referencing everything I knew and believed, and I'd be like, wait a minute, there's a lot of reasons to believe. And I would have got caught up on the term evidence, or evidently true. And I think that's what people get hung up on.
Yeah, definitely. The evidence is what made me. I was a full-blown Christian. I had no desire to be an atheist. I never knew an atheist. I had one friend that was an out Satanist when I was growing up, but I mean, I never questioned the God concept, even one time, which now I think is like, what the hell was wrong? I was like a walking brain dead. That's why I now call it faith drunk. You're so high on faith that you just believe like, I don't know. It's almost like you live in like Oz or some fantasy world.
Yeah.
You're just faith drunk.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just completely like blown over with the nonsense so much that it seems more real than what's real. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah. Funny thing, when you get brought into Christianity as like a young, impressionable person, and everybody around you, like your parents, your siblings, your family members, your friends, when they're religious, it's the same as Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Everybody that you trust say, hey, you can believe in this, and they fully endorse it, and you don't have a history or the experience to kind of compare what is Christianity to other things. So by default, what you tend to do is trust your family and take it for granted until you start growing up, and then you have to learn other things to compare it to, and then you can maybe have a safer way of kind of determining, hey, is my belief rational, reasonable, etc.
I couldn't even truly before explain what a rational belief was. I didn't have rational beliefs. I mean, I didn't have rational beliefs, nor the tools to even understand, navigate what a rational belief would have been. It's interesting now that it seems so blatant now to me. I just But it reminds me of that too. That it's like it's also, I think, a bias of our minds that makes us be able to hold on to religion. It's like when you buy a new car, all of a sudden you see that damn car everywhere. You thought before, oh, nobody has this car, and then you're like, holy shit, everyone has this car.
Yeah.
And I think it's because we get this, like, it's that us and me focus. We start to see things that are like us, and somehow that makes it better or something. It's just tribalism to me.
Yeah, tribalism is kind of a go-to idea for me. I was just talking to somebody, I think on the Fully Deconverted page or group, and I asked the person, how does Christianity spread? Because that to me is a great indicator of the authenticity of, a God interacting with humanity.
Right.
And Christianity, it spreads. It doesn't pop up spontaneously like you might, imagine is possible. It spreads. So if it spreads, you have to ask yourself how. And how it spreads is somebody told you about Christianity and now it's reached you, and then now you're presented with a choice, yay or nay, and that's how it happens. So it is human culture. It's funny how, in order for God to prove himself true, it requires men.
Really. Well, and the thing I wanted to ask you too is, what was your view of the God concept when you first stopped believing, and then do you have a different view now, or is it the same?
Yeah, so that's been an evolution, I think, an evolution bathed in uncertainty. When I deconverted and came out of the closet as a non-believer, and even at the time when I met you, I completely abandoned everything that I thought was contained within the word God. I just dropped it, and I thought, if there is anything, any mind, any consciousness, any designer behind any of this, it's something that I probably can't even imagine and don't have a point of reference to even be able to begin to describe. And I guess I haven't got too far away from that, but I don't think that when humans use the word God, that it actually references anything in reality, only that which we've imagined and has kind of evolved culturally.
True. And what's interesting too is you look at people, they always think that somehow when they say God, I should understand that. I'm like, which one? Old gods, new gods? I mean, not to mention, like I always say, you can go to it, if it's such a true thing, then it would be true, right? Like, I mean, some people try to say, oh, well, different people experience God differently. Okay, but that's like saying a real thing. Like if we looked at an animal or a box, there's only so many sides if it's a real thing. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have unlimited attributes, because then it actually would be nothing. Because if it can do anything, then it actually is nothing. Or it's everything. It doesn't make that. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't have a thingness. And so to me, the God doesn't have a thingness, and it's projected as if we're all supposed to accept some universal truth of this thingness. What? First off, everyone who says God, if you put them all in a room and asked every single person, you would not have, a uniform thing. It wouldn't even be 90% or 80%. It would be like probably 10% the same. Everyone else would be off the freaking charts. And this always, to me, the more detail you ask about the God concept, the more people will differ. So I swear, because you know why? They're making this shit up. That's why.
Yeah, that's been a recent conversation of mine as well. If you ask different people, what is God? What do you think about God? And they're all Christians. Eventually, you are going to get a widely divergent kind of definition of that God, or characteristics of the God, or attributes of the God.
Or what God wants, or what God needs, or what God expects. It will not be the same. Some people will say God expects you no sex. Other people will say no gay. Some other people, you can be gay, you can have sex for marriage. I mean, there's the gamut is like, because the point is, it's not a real thing. They're not talking to anything with their own mind.
And then what about the people who do claim that they have real experiences with God. This is kind of one of the go-to and most difficult conversations to have with people, because most of the people in their religion aren't very educated on their own religion.
Very true.
And oftentimes the history of that religion is completely disregarded. Because if you are a Christian, your God was different 500 years ago.
True.
Your God was different 1,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, being able to define God was recognized as really important when orthodoxy came about in Christianity. They needed to stop everybody from saying what was becoming Christianity, whatever they wanted to say about it.
Exactly.
So they created orthodoxy.
I agree.
And that kind of bridled the culture around, this is what we can say about God, this is what we can't say about God. By the way, that's not unique to Christianity either. Nope. It's like that in Islam.
Definitely. Well, even look at the fact that everyone always thinks Islam is one thing. Just the fact that the Sunnis and the Shiites, and they fight each other, they hate each other. I mean, it's not like so they think they have the one true God, right? Yeah. Okay. So how come he doesn't talk to you guys equally? I mean, that's the contradictions alone logically should weigh on people's mind and go, you know what? I need to be intellectually honest and go, I can't believe this.
Yeah. So what's your take on why people have such difficulty letting it go?
I think the biggest reason really is cultural. To let it go is it's not like if I said I'm going to stop watching football or something. It's when you stop, like I stopped, I basically lost most of my family, or certainly a closeness. And even my mom tries to kind of to bear with and talk to me, but she's not happy when I get success in atheism. To her, that's abhorrent. So I'll say, I'm doing good, Mom. I'm even going to London, I'm going to be speaking at an archaeological and anthropological convention. Can you believe that? Yeah. It's like, nothing. But, I understand. I said, Mom, I get it. We're enemies. I mean, in a sense. I mean, you're fighting for Christianity. Everything that I'm against. I get it. I mean, it's not like I'm happy when she's like, oh, yeah, we're going to Prague. It's to be part of religion and promote, being abstinent and all that kind of stuff. No, not to me. That's not productive. I mean, it's productive towards their goal, but it's not productive, I think, for humanity. To me, religion subjugates humanity. God is not something that's just a benign thing. When someone says they have a God, what they've told you is they have a master. They no longer have their own self. I'm an anarchist. That alone right there is enough to go, no, thank you. Whether or not a God's real, as an anarchist, I want nothing to do with masters. Nobody I want controlling my body, my mind, my life. And so to me, the most hideous thing would be have a God that can basically control every part of my life. I mean, it's an invasion of my personal dignity.
Let's attack that from a different angle, Damien. Let's say we're a Christian, we believe in God. Would we see God as that subjugating master, or would we see God as a loving Father?
Well, it would depend on really your branch of Christianity, because when I was raised in the cult till 13, they would have said that to love God is to fear God, and so you need to have reverence and fear. You don't need to be worrying about God making you happy. And I do agree. There's other Christianity that's opposite, So to me, even Christianity, I don't like to speak about religion and straw man it, because I mean, there's not one kind of Christianity. But once again, that should help people understand. Yeah, because it's not real.
So I've been in both Christianities. I've been in both Christianities.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I've been in the one where you fear God. Life is about holiness. Life is
yes.
not about happiness.
That's right.
And I've been in the one where God is absolutely a loving Father. Everybody's accepted. Yes, sin still exists. Yes, there's still things you shouldn't do. But, judge not, while you're a human, whatever, we're alive and all of this sort of stuff.
Well, that certainly is a less toxic form of Christianity.
Yeah, the less toxic form. But I think you mentioned the term enemies earlier, and that's a strong term. But I think when we're when we're in the landscape of trying to create positive cultural change, and an atheist talks to a Christian, and an atheist says to the Christian, your religion is toxic. It is poisonous. And the atheist is referencing the idea, not the person.
Oh yeah. I'm not at war with my mom. What I mean is the fact that I'm not at war with theists. What I mean is she's not just a theist. Understand? She doesn't just believe. She is actively pushing Christianity and going to other countries to push it. She's actively fighting for Christianity. Well, I am actively fighting that Christianity dies. Or all religion is seen as myth. I mean, that's my goal. Now, people can still believe myths or use myths in their life productively. Fine. But I still want people to see them as the myths they are. That's all. I mean, I'm not asking people to stop things, but I want it to die as a belief that it's true, that it's healthy, that it's doing something for you. I mean, people throw money at this crap.
Among other things. One of the things I struggle with, Damien, personally, when I am approaching persons of faith, is when they convey to me that there's value in them having faith. And that's hard for me to confront, because I can't say, no, there's no value in having faith, because their experience tells them otherwise. So what do you do in a situation where you can break down somebody's belief in God and just destroy it with logic and reason, but emotionally it's harming them? What do you do?
Well, yeah, and whenever you deal with even a drug addict, I mean, in a sense, because I have counseling training and intervention training with drug addicts. So let me tell you that talking to somebody that's not in their right mind. Religious people got nothing on a loaded drug addict who's intent on dying. They don't listen to reason at all. But so the point is to get them to reason. So people always ask me that. Damien, how do you get people if they don't do logic? You can't reason. Well, that's true. If you can't get people logic, you can't get them to change. But the thing is that we have to understand that what comes before logic is reason. So you get them reasoning. And if they won't reason about that subject, reason about something else. Draw it away from what it is. So they won't reason about how to think about God. Okay, so I talk about something else. If I tell them, if I were to explain right now what a table looks like, how long would it take for me to explain it before you already knew it was a table? Probably very quickly, because tables have certain properties. Generally has, some sort of a stand or legs, and then it has to be at the height for humans to sit in a chair, because it's about function. So we already know the properties of the thing. It has to hold weight. I mean, just for the fact that it's a table. So there's qualities that come with things. So I would get them like I'm doing right now. So what I just did right now is get you to reason and think. Now you're thinking about properties of things. You're thinking about how things, when you explain them, they have to have qualities. Then I go back. Can you see how that relates to the God? I'm asking you how many legs. I'm asking you how much weight. I'm asking you, is it really a table? How about a chair? Chairs also hold weight, and they have bases or legs. How do we know the difference? I need to know, when you say God, think about this. What are you saying? So I want to get them to reason. So let's just say they don't reason. So what's before reason is thinking. So because thinking could be random. Reason is when thinking to me becomes structured or ordered. So if they won't reason with you, and generally people will, but let's just say for some reason they're just fighting you or whatever. Stop fighting. It's the art of fighting without fighting. The more they fight, just stop fighting. Just start asking questions. I always go back to the hammer of truth. Ontology, epistemology, axiology. Always. Whenever there's a strife, just go, okay, please explain it to me. What do you mean by God? Okay, you said God is a supernatural thing. Could you please explain supernatural? Because I only understand that which is natural. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in a sense that they go, well, you won't understand supernatural because you have to have faith. Okay, please explain faith. That's ontology. I just keep asking ontology until you give me it. Let's just say they can explain. Faith is the product of hope. Okay. And so am I to understand this? I'm thinking with them. I'm critical thinking, making them think. I'm understand that when you use faith, you're saying it's hope. Okay. But does hope actually produce evidence in any other type of idea but the God concept? Just wondering.
Right.
And so I'm getting them to think. Does it? Does it? Making them analyze it, forcing them to use their reason, to use logic. I'm not asking them. I'm forcing them. But it's not in a sense like some kind of abuse. I'm actually caring about them. And it's a way of talking where you project into them. It's how you have to me, an intervention. You cannot wait, like, hey, would you like to get sober, bro? Dude, no one would get sober. I'm telling you. That's why I think that people have it confused. It's not that you have to be quiet. It's not that you can't be harsh. It's that you have to be kind. Kindness. Human compassion. Human connection. When I talk to you, you feel safe because you feel like I'm not going to start calling you out or attacking you in a brutal, unfair way. And that's how a theist should feel. Everyone, I want to be a friend to the world. Because I realize that we don't learn well when we're fighting. We're too busy waiting for a comeback. We're not thinking. We're just waiting to give a response, but we're not thinking. So I want them to think. Arguing is a waste of time. Waste time. I won't do it. You see, sometimes online I'll do long discussions where the person's not really arguing, and I'll almost do no patience with the person that is. If they're just blind arguing and they won't give me evidence or even try, done with them. Because you're wasting my time. But someone who's trying, I try to be the same. I want to be a friend, and I try to see it that way. It's not about me winning. I'm trying to inspire them to reason, to build a belief etiquette, to realize not just the God concept, but everything. Everything in your life. You should have a belief etiquette that you hold yourself to a standard. I mean, it's not unreasonable. And that's what you appeal to is their logic, to me, their logic and reason. And you also show them the benefit when we're able to use reason more effectively, which having a belief etiquette does. We end up that in our life, we make better decisions and we're able to navigate things with a higher effectiveness. Or we can just keep doing things without reason and, hope for the best. But since, most people, go to the doctor, because they actually want to get, medicine, they don't just pray. They're already admitting, in a sense, that they know there's a real world that they're accountable to, not just this fantasy God.
Yeah, Christians don't like it when I bring this up, generally speaking. But I love that old kind of anti-Christian, anti-theist adage of God doesn't heal amputees.
Oh, yeah.
I love that because in the Bible, God kind of did. Jesus kind of did when he put the ear
back on.
Yeah. But, other than that, who knows with amputees and stuff, but it just doesn't happen. Today, it doesn't happen. Now, obviously a non-believer is going to think it's never happened, but, what should that signify to believers? That healings are only based on faith. It's if you believe that they happened instead of them actually happened. And keep in mind, there are people who say, I had cancer and then I didn't have cancer. That's proof of a miracle. You
right.
you get some of these intense stories.
Yeah, but cancer is something that by itself sometimes just goes away. So they don't always know why. So that's not an inspiration for anything. But the truth is that why would God give cancer to begin with? I mean, and if God was granting any kind of prayers at any kind of rate, you would be able to very easily and empirically see it in the data, and Christians would be beating us over the head with the shit. Seriously. They would be all up in arms. Here's the proof. Here's the data. Look at over a cross-generational study. They can prove that those that pray and have God are healed and they're doing more, healthy and well-being or whatever than the general population. But that's not the case. That's not the case at all.
Right, we don't see that, yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not saying that people can't use religion to make themselves feel better. Yeah, so does drugs. So does actually going and watching porn. It makes me feel very happy. Watching strippers, love it. Go to a news resort, a blast. So, I mean, the whole point is we're emotional, phenomenological beings. We are emotional. Right. We emote all the time about everything. So when someone says, "Oh, I felt great," yeah, humans do that shit. We do it for stupid reasons sometimes.
I was looking up some research on the effectiveness on prayer, and there have been studies from, I want to say, from the 1970s, from what I saw, into either the 90s or maybe even early 2000s, where
the Templeton
the
study
efficacy of prayer was being tested. And now, there were some interesting results, but I'll go ahead and tell you what you and I already know. What you and I already know is that no miracles actually happened.
Right.
And the effectiveness of the prayer, if you were to measure it, is exactly equal to what is otherwise already probable had prayer not occurred.
Right.
But there was one interesting part of it, and you kind of already answered why. It's because we're emotional, so when they measured the psychological effects of the person praying who believed God would answer their prayer, they had a range of emotions or psychological effects. Some was positive when they felt good about themselves for praying, and others felt what you said in our first interview. You mentioned anxiety.
Yeah, prayer anxiety, yeah.
Yeah, because you're expecting something to happen now, especially when people around you are also expecting it.
Yeah, and you don't want it to fail. And
you don't want it to fail.
And your thought is, yeah, so God failed? I mean, it's hilarious. But the thing is that it doesn't even take that. All you have to do is just look at there's places in Africa where there's two countries touch. And one side is like 98% Christian, the other side is like 99% Islam. And they're both, in a sense, in this drought. So children are dying from both sides. Both are praying. And guess what? Neither of them the same. So either they're both wrong, right? Or there is no God. I mean, so they're, I'm saying they're both wrong about the other, because obviously they have either the wrong religion, some other religion is what I meant. Is that obviously Christianity, Islam, they pray and their babies die, and just like they would because of the drought, so in lack of resources. So because they have that, which of course, if we think about a drought, so the whole problem is not human, it's supposedly God created. God made the drought. So God is killing these people, and they're praying for their babies not to die. And God's supposedly, if there is a God, killing both the Islam babies and the Christian babies the same. I mean,
that's a reality, right?
It's reality.
That is reality, and people have to face it. Christians who lost a family member that they loved face a very difficult situation in which they ask God, why did this happen? I mean, this is one of the number one things that Christians are concerned with, and it's the problem of pain. C.S. Lewis wrote a book on it. I've read that book probably like twice. I got notes all throughout it. Loved that book while I was a Christian, because it did such a great job of actually sidestepping the fact that God was both loving and providential. And somehow, for humans, free will has to exist, and therefore pain is possible in order for God's love to be the purest form of love, and our reasonable love to also be the purest form of love. What do you think about that?
Well, I would immediately think, okay, so all animals suffer for something that you say a human did, and that's still a loving God? I don't find people that let animals suffer to be good people. I mean, so let's start there. I mean, to be the whole, it's just like this. Think of this, man, about the facts. So the fact is, evolution is a fact, and in the strata layers, we can see that as a fact. And so this is the interesting thing, though, is that 99% of all life that has ever occurred on this earth has gone extinct. To me, I don't know how anybody can say that a God is intelligent and did that. I mean, I always think that what if a child comes home to you with a report card and it says they got a 99% wrong? I mean, you wouldn't go, yay, it's a perfect child, you did an honor roll. You'd be like, you need to take that class again, and we're going to get you as a tutor.
Yeah, something fundamentally went wrong there.
Fundamentally went wrong. So to me, that alone, looking at because they always go, oh, if I look at nature, I find God. Yeah, if I look at nature, I find not God. Because the problem of evil, and then also the problem, like I said, of the actual data. The fact that everything died. What kind of a designer is that? Talk about a failure. Everything you created went extinct. Okay, yeah, you're perfect. Sorry. That was the perfect way to do things.
So, what is your type of response when you're asked by a believer, well, what if you are wrong?
If someone asks me, what if I'm wrong? I would say that I would accept that I'm wrong. That's what I would do. Because I believe that it takes intellectual honesty. I have belief etiquette, which means that I have reasoned belief acquisitions. That means what comes in must be analyzed. That I need valid and reliable reason and evidence. And the higher the claim effect on me or the world, the higher I need that evidence either from me or for someone else. And then I have a good belief maintenance, which means that I keep all beliefs on like a cliff edge, about to fall off. That if any tremor, it falls off. I don't want to buy anything. The only master I have is reason. And I only use that until I can figure out something better. Because to me, that's the beginning of when we start analyzing the world. So you ask, how would I would always follow the evidence. That is how.
Is faith evidence?
It's evidence that people have emotions and have desires and wishes, or blind acceptance. I mean, when people say faith, what do they mean? They think it means evidence because they think that faith somehow is a magical property, that if you feel something emotionally, that's a projection of something real in the world. But this is not true. In other words, people are scared of the dark, but it could be your own house, and there's nothing there. But we're still scared. But we're not scared really because of the actuality of a real threat. It's in us from evolution to have this wariness about and a fear in general.
Yeah. I often tell people presently that I don't believe in anything anymore. And I think that takes them by surprise because, especially, my community, most of my friends are still, most of them are still religious or are religious. And, in interacting on Fully Deconverted, the page or the group, that question sometimes comes up. Okay, well, what do you believe in? Or, well, your belief is, evolution or, that sort of thing. But belief is a funny thing. And I liked your analogy of having all your beliefs on that cliff edge.
Well, right, because I don't have a problem with beliefs. If someone says belief, that's meaningless to me. It's just like truth. Meaningless. I want to hear your warrant, your justification. I want to know that it's valid and reliable. I want to know that it has enough enriched, properties of reason or evidence. not just some flimsy, Band-Aid of an excuse. Not going to take it.
Yeah. At the point of my deconversion, I was very distraught and upset that we being Christians, when I was a Christian, we believe the most extraordinary thing. We believe that God is both personable and loving. Mm-hmm. And yet somehow we have to face the reality that when we die alone. That when we need help, it only comes in the form of what's already probabilistically going to happen to not only myself, but everybody else around the world.
That's right.
When we cry out for God to reveal himself to us, that just never happens. And I was so upset at the point of my deconversion with the fact that I believed just the most incredible thing on no evidence at all.
I was angry because I went, man, I've been fucking lied to my whole life by everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, that fucking pissed me off. Like, what the fuck?
Yes, yeah, me too.
But I eventually lost some of that anger because I realized they're just victims. I'm just a fellow victim of this promulgation, because 73% of people in the world come from a place that if they're religious, they come from a place where their religion is the dominant among their culture or their clan or family or whatever. It's not connected in a sense to a real belief. It's just like positional, or it's geographic.
Yeah, that plays a real role in what your religion is going to be.
That's right. Is that really going to be?
The rule is, whatever culture you're born into, whatever that faith is, that's what you're going to be. That's the rule. There are exceptions to this.
Yeah.
But that's the rule. And by the way, that's how it's spread. Religion, Christianity can spread with your posterity. Most of the Muslims, their growth rate is by the birth rate, not so much all the conversions happening into Islam. It's their birth rate. And funny how we even recognize that, you're born into a Muslim family, well, you're a Muslim.
Right.
Oh, but somehow it was your choice at some point in time, as though you were not indoctrinated.
Oh, yeah, right. Exactly. So if someone says, oh, I'm Christian and I have 5 kids, you don't even ask. You assume all 5 kids are Christian.
Yeah, and if they're not Christian, and you're a fellow Christian listening to that Christian say that they've got 5 kids, you now think that person is a bad parent for not passing down God to their children.
Exactly. Because it's not like it's an afterthought to do child indoctrination. It is a main feature. I mean, it's glorified. It's called Sunday school. I mean, they act like the shit is a real school. It's just called just Christian Indoctrination 101. Start them while they're young. If the thing was so true, they wouldn't have this deep fear to get people before they even can think. I mean, children before 7 should not be presented religion, because children before 7 think animistically in general. Up till that point, their cognitive abilities is to assume magical agency in the world. So they're hijacking children at the perfect time to fuck their brains.
Yeah. So I recently came across some developmental psychology work, and the human race, the individual as we live and die, and civilization, meaning human culture, all kind of makes this progression. And the progression falls into the pattern of, first it's, I think about myself, then I think about others. I think about myself, I think about others. Babies think about themselves. You grow up a little bit, you learn to play with others, you think about others. Then you start becoming a teenager, early adult, and you're like, I'm going to stake my claim on the earth.
Right.
And then at some point after, you've tried to gain as much power as possible, you realize, no, maybe having a family is a good thing. It keeps going back and forth like that. And the same thing happens in human culture, in the broad sense.
Right.
You're very tribalistic at first, or you come into a tribe and then you war with other tribes, and then you try to create peace treaties and maintain civilization and blah, blah, blah. That sort of thing. But I think the point of this is tribalism is a real thing. And we go through most of that, and that indoctrination that you were talking about plays so strongly on our psyches that once it's fully embedded in our minds, it almost completely destroys us when we're an adult and we seek a deconversion.
It's definitely hard to do it as an adult. I did. I was 35. I wasn't looking for it to happen either. I mean, it's just I couldn't no longer stop seeing the truth. I mean, I felt like I got born again or whatever. They because in that sense, because I mean, I felt like a rush of like adrenaline come over me, like wash over my head. Got real hot because I told you I got it. Holy fucking shit, I got it. This is all bullshit. And I truly like got it. And so I went from like 100% belief, to 100% disbelief. It was like a knife. I got it. Holy shit.
Yeah, I felt completely, Damien, I felt completely liberated.
Oh, totally.
Because it was like you. It's like the process you were describing. It's like you couldn't deny the facts anymore. You couldn't deny where logic and reason takes you, where all the evidence points. And then
exactly.
when you're ready, when you finally concede that all the evidence points one way, and that way isn't in the direction of religion, and you accept that, you feel, minus all the afraid part of losing community and all that other stuff, but in the self-actualization part, you feel, holy shit, I'm free. That was all bullshit. I can do whatever I want.
Yes. Oh, I agree. Yeah, I was leaning towards libertarian, but once I became an atheist, I became an anarchist because I was already, like I said, kind of leaning that way a little bit, but once because it changed my focus. Before, I was a right libertarian in the sense that I was more like a Republican. But once I became an atheist, it changed my whole value structure. All of it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, before I hated gays, now I don't have any problem with people that are gay. Before, I felt like a man had to be like in charge of women, even though I thought women were equal. Now I realize that's all bullshit. There's a whole bunch of things that my values about, like, the poor, you should get a job. And I started realizing, wow, actually, this system's pretty fucked and everybody's like dying. Maybe we should care, I mean, my whole, it's like, I have a picture a meme where I show like the guy's got this whole brain is out and is on the table and he's looking at the parts. That's what I did, man. I felt like my own brain wasn't safe for me. Yeah. Because my brain was still in a sense, a religious believer. And I needed to stop that, but I didn't know how. I had no tools, and I didn't know who to trust, and I didn't know how to think. And fuck, if your own family lies to you, who else can you trust? Who can you be sure about? And so I wasn't like some gung-ho to join the atheist community because how the fucking know those guys got, or girls or women, whatever. How do I know that they're going to have any better idea than what I have? How do I know they're not confused? Yeah. But that's why I work so hard at trying to teach, not just have an opinion, not just make videos to make Damien famous or glorious or something, but I really want to teach. I want to help because, man, I felt so abandoned when I became an atheist. It was like life just dropped out and I was without a parachute. What the fuck am I going to do now? That's like I was in counseling and I started hating the fact that it was too religious and things about it, and I can't do this, and I really want to make an impact and help the world, so I wanted to be a counselor. So I was like, I think I want to become a professional atheist. I'm going to try to make a real difference in the atheist community. I want to try to make it hard, like I think is correct, but caring, like I know is right.
Yeah, funny. Yeah, you and I have a lot of similarities. When I was approaching my deconversion process, I'm like, what the hell, man? Like, there's nothing wrong with being homosexual. There's nothing wrong with procreating.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with all these things that's why I say in my groups, disenfranchising dogma. There is simply no reason to have dogma. And when you get dogma with Christianity or religion, what you often have is somebody standing up and telling everybody else what they should do and what they should believe and how they should behave.
Yeah.
And that is dangerous, and that is poisonous, and that is manipulative in so much as it's not evidently true. That's why.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because if they told you don't molest children, hey, that's a good thing. I will follow that. I would have done that actually without you telling me, but I'm glad that you care about that also. But I mean,
right.
but when they tell you you can't be, love someone you love and it's an adult and is willing, fuck off. I mean, they don't even, what, if you don't want to be around gay people, don't marry a gay person, okay? Then it's problem solved. I mean, it's ridiculous. Once I started realizing, because to me, I'd always, even like I'm real sexual, and I like having sex with multiple women. And when I was in religion, I tried not to do that. In fact, one time I tried not to have sex. It was about 2 months. Oh my, it was unbearable. But I'm just being honest, man. Fuck that.
Yeah.
But anyways, I mean, I tried not masturbating. I tried because, supposedly that's the same in God's eyes. Well, you know what? That shit's some bullshit too. Go fuck off. I mean,
the thought crimes,
It's so, you get, thought crimes. Here you are guilty for all this shit. And it's like such horse crap. I agree with you. Once I had changed, I saw things different, because also what I always hate, people always talk about as gay is always about sex. Oh yeah, because that's all gay people do is have sex, right? They have no regular lives. That's like saying the heterosexual people, all they do is sex. They have no regular lives. Of course they do. They have family, they have pets, they have friends. I mean, they have regular fucking lives like everybody else. And in fact, I know, because I'm kind of more flamboyant, sometimes people think I'm gay, and I don't even care. Whatever. They can think anything they damn want. First off, when they say, something to me, it's like, yeah, and gay people are not bad, so what? It doesn't even matter what it is. I really hate bigotry. It's like I hate transphobia and all that. And I became a feminist more. I already was a feminist, really, ever since my dad, hit my mom, and I saw it, and it pissed me off. I wanted to do something about it, and ever since then, I was kind of feminist, but it wasn't really until I became atheist that I became more aware, of my male privilege. I got more aware of women's suffering than I had before. I've said, once I became an atheist, they think, oh, if you're an atheist, you got no morals. Bullshit. I became the way more moral person than I've ever been in my life.
Right, yeah, me too, Damien. Oh my gosh, I don't think Christians understand that, because not to overgeneralize them, but a big concern is, okay, if you're not a Christian, then where do your morals come from? I'm sure
I was asked that yesterday.
As you've been an atheist.
Like I said, someone asked me that.
Where do our morals come from? We who do not believe in God, where do our morals come from?
Well, actually, it comes from the same place they come from everybody, because there's no morals, in a sense, laid down in the Bible, everything that someone does. They're making their moral choices daily in a normative way, and it's nothing to do with the Bible. When they talk to you as a friend, when you wait and talk, and then I wait and talk, I mean, we didn't talk about this ahead of time. You just know in social interaction that you have to have a communication that involves two people. That means sometimes you got to be quiet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's no different than that. It's just a social exchange. It's all it is. It's social exchange. Yeah. It's the first, to me, it's the realization that everyone owns themselves. That they have a dignity that we have to not violate. Not that means that how I approach them has to be different. If I have that mindset, which I do. I see people as dignity beings. That in a sense, you don't stop being a human no matter what you do. Your behavior might be monstrous, and I will hate your behavior, and thus that behavior is tainted what your whole image. But you don't stop being a human per se. You're still physically a human. So that's what I'm saying is I don't stop seeing the thingness, the ontology of what humans are. It helps me navigate it better. Just like someone said to me, I have a problem that I feel anger sometimes about people, and I hate people. You know, they suck. You know, yeah, people suck a lot. I suck sometimes. It's just about being human. We're fucking emotional. Guess what? That means that sometimes we don't do things that make sense.
Yeah.
But that's not in the sense us always being immoral. That's just being emotional beings that are not fucking perfect. I mean, we're not. In other words, even if I feel like, and I do feel like I have a really high moral standard, right? And it's really thought out, and I've worked on it for years. You know what? Is it perfect? Fuck no. You know what? It doesn't have to be. This is what the religious people don't understand. I'm not under any obligation for it to be perfect. I do the best I can. That is what is expected of all of us.
Yeah.
So, and that's why we have first degree, second degree, you know, third degree murder or whatever, or crimes. Because you realize, you know what? The details, that shit matters. But you know what? Not to your God. Every crime is hell. Interesting. No fucking justice at all. No justice.
The binary option of you either get the worst possible or the best possible. And the only way to get the best possible is concede that which isn't evidently true. But that's what gets you in the door.
Yeah, and to me, it's a letting go of reason. When I allow something else to take me over, then I'm no longer reasoning.
Right. Yeah. I often try to say ideas shouldn't be the master of us. We should master our ideas. That's why I say I don't respect other people's beliefs. I scrutinize their beliefs. I think it was Harriet Tubman who said, you know, I freed 1,000 slaves, but I could have freed 1,000 more if they knew they were slaves.
Yeah. Sure.
And I think the heaven-hell binary kind of option for one's destiny, if they're a Christian, should be one of the number one indicators that, hey, did I authentically come to believe in God, or was there an element of fear that I didn't want to go to hell? So then I adopted belief in belief. And, you know, they wouldn't say it that way. They think there's some authenticity to professing that God is real, but there's nothing authentic about that without it being demonstrable, without there being evidence for that. Otherwise, you are the fool.
Yeah, but I know that people don't go out to believe falsehood. I mean, even conspiracy theories that are fucking lunatic. I don't believe that people. I believe that people truly want to know. I think that some people like conspiracy theories because it makes them feel special, just like religion. If you have this special knowledge, this special thing, and you feel like you're on the inside, you know the real truth, the down low, the whatever. What I'm saying is, it's still tribalism. It's still that thinking, I'm now better. It's also that ego. It's ego run amok. That you know, you're so important that you know, you are given these ideas that no one else can understand. It's ridiculous.
So why is everybody's God the one true God?
Well, there's some people that actually think that many gods are possible. I mean, so it's not that everybody believes in monotheism. Just like I try to attack things that are not even that. I go into animism and shamanism and totemism, and I attack all religions because I want to show. Because people go, oh, what's wrong with shamanism? There's nothing. Oh yeah, Genghis Khan was a shaman. He seemed to have no problem torturing and killing people. Then go, well, what about Buddhism? Yeah, like Pol Pot was a Buddhist. It didn't seem to stop him from killing people. Or the people that were working under him, which were Buddhists. Or Miramar, where they actually do terrorist acts, or have done, against Islam, Muslims. It doesn't, whenever a religion's in power, it wants to be the only thing. That's its goal. So to me, to see religion as somehow a good thing, all religions want to be in control. This is a bad thing, because they want to be in control of everybody that has free rights. So to me, religion is terrorism. It is a goal of taking over our countries or our cities or whatever and dominating them with only their belief. That is their goal. Their goal is absolute domination by force. They've just tapered the force, nowadays compared to what they used to do. But they're still doing it by force. They're trying to get in the government. They're not waiting for God. In other words, if they really believe in pray, right? The prayer works, then pray. Why are you trying to join the legislature and change laws? Just pray. God will do it, right? Fucking God can do anything. You want God to stop abortion? Why doesn't God just stop abortion? I mean, why even make laws? God could just change everyone's heart, everyone's mind tomorrow. He did it to Pharaoh, so it's not like it's not possible. God can change someone's mind. He hardened Pharaoh's heart against, the Jews when they asked to let my people go. So, I mean, God can do that. God's done it before. God doesn't have any problem invading people's wills.
Yeah, I sometimes hear the three universal truths that all religions agree on. And I think this is especially true for the Abrahamic religions. The three universal truths are: we are right, everyone else is wrong, and we are better than you. The we are better than you part is a little bit of the nuanced kind of psychological effects that happen once you become part of one of those tribes. Mm-hmm. It's something that won't be admitted, but it's true and it's evident. And the way that it's evident is that if you're not in our tribe, we dehumanize you in the way that we say, okay, well, you're the person that goes to hell.
Yeah. Well, and they don't just, it's not just they think we're going to hell. They're usually gleeful about it. They're actually happy. Imagine if Hitler was sending people to the gas chambers and they're cheering, yeah, you're going to burn. I mean, you would not look at that and go, yeah, those are the holy people. Definitely. Oh, God, yes. Those are the ones that are the most moral. They are cheering, supposedly, right? If we buy what they're selling and real hell happens, they're cheering our suffering is sadistically sick. Not moral.
Right. Yeah. And that was also one of the things that gave me such conflict that I needed to seek resolution to when I was about to deconvert. I remember I would have my face on the ground praying, distressed to God, saying, how can you just let people go to hell? Like, I get that I was supposed to be okay with that because we're taught God isn't just love. God is also justice. God is
like hell is justice. Come on.
Right, yeah. Yeah, but then you start kind of, if you've dabbled in Calvinism theology,
I
we're
haven't.
absolutely depraved, and anything good that we get is so undeserved that we should be eternally thankful. And Calvinism is a hard theology. People won't really like. That's something that's probably will be dead in the next 20 to 50 years if you thought about it, because it just doesn't seem churches are going the way of Calvinism anymore. But along the way, if you were a Christian, you probably thought, yeah, I'm a sinner, so I guess I deserve hell. And if you accept that first, everything else becomes really easy. Except when you really think about your loved one who did die, who was perhaps not a believer, and now you're forced with the psychological trauma that your loved one is eternally suffering. And that hurt me when I was desperate for God to reveal himself to me before I deconverted. But it's also freeing when you realize that's just a belief.
Yeah, it is. So I need to go pretty soon because my wife just got home. Anyways,
cool.
Yeah. So she's going to start cooking dinner and stuff or whatever. But anyways, so, I wanted to ask really quick though, what have you learned? Because I know you've done all these videos. Is there any, what's the three things you think you've most learned from the videos or ideas or whatever? Talking to people.
Well, I'll tell you that the number one thing that I learned was I wasn't alone. Mm. When I met you, Damien, that was my first event where I was exposed to the atheist culture.
Right.
And almost everybody that I met that I had a conversation with, they were like me. They once believed, and then they didn't. And they had a deconversion process that was something like mine. Sometimes it was more traumatic. Sometimes it was less traumatic. But it was a deconversion process. So that's number one thing I learned, that I was not alone.
Right.
Because I really feared that I would be alone. The second thing I think I learned from then to now, and it goes both ways, people want to hear the conversation. They want to be a part of the conversation, and they want to hear the conversation. This doesn't go for everybody, but non-believers who were once believers do value the fact that conversations like this happen, because at some point they didn't hear it when they were deconverting, and it was scary for them.
Yeah,
Christians,
I think it's good when they desire to hear, because it gives them the chance to think. I wish I would have gone to or to watch videos or something of people talking, even like we're doing.
Yeah, yes. And even Christians enjoy hearing this. I get a lot of my Christian responses in private. And even though they see all the videos that I post and everything that I do, they say, hey, some of those points are really great points, and it makes me think. So that's the second thing that I've learned, that, people that do want to hear this. The third thing I think I've learned, and it's a personal struggle of mine, is, damn, how much do I really want to talk about this, knowing that I'd rather be skateboarding with my sons? Like, yeah, this was a traumatic experience for me. It's a very important one. It's one that I just hope humanity never has to go through, but it's an ongoing one that's probably not going to end anytime soon.
No.
But really the most valuable thing to me in my life is I just want to have fun with my sons. I just want to be a normal person focusing on that which makes me happy, not having to do damage control with the whole rest of the world, because at some point we got caught up in something that's not evidently true, and it hurts others. Those are the three things I learned.
That's cool. I see it as a social justice thing. I have to be an out atheist. It's not even a choice.
Yeah.
And an out anti-religionist. I have to speak. Somebody has to stand up for reason. Someone needs to stand up for reality. And I realize that I agree with you. Everybody can't do it. I have the unique position, the desire, the ability, and the want to do it.
Yeah. And people like you are needed. I don't know how long I'll do activism. I guess as long as I'm right in the middle of it. But without activism, you don't get change. Without a voice,
Totally.
your position in society, as far as change, is valueless. It requires a voice. It requires action. And that's how we got to where we are today, by the way. Mm-hmm. So we all had forerunners who suffered so that we'll have the rights that you and I and everybody listening to this, we enjoy presently. Somebody else had to suffer for.
Yes, exactly. That's why I don't really connect with people to New Atheists or Dawkins, or he didn't really inspire me. I mean, he said some cool things, but really I like Ingersoll because he in 1800s, he was a firebrand from hell, and he was going when it was a hell of a lot more dangerous, People worried about me getting shot when I went to Indiana. He was right there in Missouri doing stuff. In Illinois, all over the place. I mean, yeah. And he has a thing where he says that, 100 years ago, my whole family would have been killed probably. I mean, we have fought. People have had to have done it. That's how we're in a safer position. And I feel like, to me, people don't understand. I don't expect that I'm actually going to kill religion per se, right? But my main goal is this, very clear. I want to try to end hereditary religion from the world. Period.
Yeah.
Which means that, like you said, when someone's a religious parent, you assume all their children are that religion. Why? It shouldn't be. If it's a belief and not a forced thing, then everybody should come to this on their own. I have no problem with people coming on their own. I have no problem. But I do have a problem of people being forced into this religion. And they see it as like, oh, well, they're Jewish, so they get to raise their children. I'm sorry, so their parents get to choose what the child's religious freedom is? Is that what you're saying? So when exactly do we get religious freedom? 18? That's when we get religious freedom finally. Everything before that, it's not? Seriously?
Right.
Is that a free country? Are they not a fucking citizen? We do agree they can't be abused, so we do agree that the state or the society has some obligation to their well-being. To me, I fucking hate hereditary religion. It's an abomination, and it is abuse. To me, when it's an intellectual abuse, if nothing else. You are fucking pushing lies. That it is an intellectual abuse, because you're not saying, here's this weird, I believe that the moon is a hologram, but that's just my idea. Well, the kid can take it or leave it. But when you demand that that kid praise the hologramic supposed moon and has to draw things of it and tell everybody they're wrong and go bomb places that do lunar, investigation or something, it's that craziness.
Yeah, that is a very accurate analogy. That is what it is.
So I really appreciate your time, and we got to do this again, man. I always enjoy talking to you. You're a cool dude.
Yeah, Damon, you're awesome. I appreciate it, man. Take care of yourself. Tell your wife I said hi.
All right.
I look forward to running into you again in person.
Yeah.
Sometime in the future.
Sometime. All right, man. It's been good.
All right.
I'm going to go ahead and
take care, Dave.
end it now.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, buddy. See ya.
All right, bye.